In this video, I will show you how to create your first Unity project, and I will also show you around in the Unity editor. The first thing you will need is this program called the Unity Hub. You can download and install this from the Unity website. I will leave a link in the description. So here on the left, you can see your different options. You have your installs. This is where you can see the different versions you have installed. If this is blank and you have no versions installed, click this blue button in the top right corner and you can install the different versions. I would just take the recommended one. If you don't, make sure to at least take one that says this LTS. This just stands for long-term support. When you've installed your first version of the Unity editor, go to projects and use this blue button called new project. Click this and here you'll see a bunch of different templates. For this video, just to kind of show you around the Unity editor, I will just use this universal 3D. Click this, double check if it's the same version you've chose up here. As you can see, this changes if you choose different versions. So just make sure the template you want to use is the template it shows up here in the upper right corner. Then you can name your project. I'll just call this my project. You can choose the location for your project as well, and then click create project. Now, after some time loading, Unity should open up, and this is about what you'll see. If your layout is a bit different, you can go to this top right corner where it says something like default or 4 split 2x3. You can click this and you can click default. It will go to the default layout, which is this. You have a lot of different tabs and windows and we will walk through them one by one. Let's start by this one in the middle. As you can see in the tab, this is called scene. Scene is like the game level. So this is where you can edit around and change things and add things to your game. Well, you also have this tab called game. And this is what you'll see when you start your game. So this is basically where the camera is pointing. So the camera being what the player sees. Now, where is our camera? You might see the small icon here, but you can also see, I actually just did it, you have this sample scene. If you press this triangle, you can expand it, and here you have your main camera, your directional light, and your global volume. This is the hierarchy, and here is where all of your game objects, which you have in your scene, these are listed here on the left. Now, how does the camera and the directional light know that they are a camera and a light? Well, if I click the camera, you can see on the right we have the inspector. This is where you can look at different game objects. So it has a camera component on it. You can collapse or expand this. If you go to the directional light, this has a light component. And as you can see, you can also add other components to it. This is also where you, for instance, want to add your custom C# scripts if you want custom behavior for some game objects. And then you have this bottom window where it says project and console. Console is like the name states, this is your console. So if you want to debug something, write it out to the console, you can do that here. And then you have your project folder. This is what is saved on your hard drive. So this is a bit of contrast to the hierarchy, where this is everything you have in your game and is saved to the scene, but this is everything saved to the hard drive. So for instance, if we go to the scenes, then we have the sample scene here. We can right click, show in Explorer, and you can see this is actually a file saved on my hard drive. So let's start by creating a new game object. So to create a new game object, we're going to go into hierarchy. We're going to press the right mouse button. So right click, and then you have this list of objects you can create. Let's start by creating a 3D object. Let's create a plane. So as you can see, the plane sort of represents a ground. If we press it in a hierarchy and then press the F key, then we can frame it. So like zoom in and zoom out on it. So here we have a ground. We can create another object. Let's just say a cube. And now we have a ground and a cube. And you can see if we mark these objects either here in the hierarchy or click them in our scene, it has these different arrows, each arrow representing an axis. I can click and hold down on the green arrow and I can move it up and down. And as you can see here on the right, we have this transform component. Now, every object has a transform component. The transform component being the position, the rotation, and the scale of your object. So basically where it is in the game world. So if I drag it up and down, you can see out on the right on the transform component, the Y position is changing. If I drag it on the blue one, the Z axis is changing, and the red one, the X axis is changing. I can also just directly type here if I want to change the axis, or I can go onto the letter of the axis, and you can see there's two arrows on each side of my cursor, and I can drag it like this. This also works the same if I want to rotate, and I can scale it. You can also use this toolbar here. You can see we have a move tool right now. This is because I can move it around, but there's also the rotate tool, and there's the scaling tool, and you can also use hotkeys for this. So like if you press W, you get the move. If you press E, you get the rotate. If you press R, you get the scale tool. Let's say you wanted to move by some certain amount. Instead of just dragging like this, you have to like really be careful where you drag it. If you want to place directly somewhere, You can hold down your left control and you can then drag it, and you can see it drags like in intervals. And you can set this interval as well to make sure it rotates or moves a certain amount. And to navigate around your scene view, because of course you don't want to look at it always from the same angle, you can hold down your right mouse button and then you can look around like this, just moving your mouse. You can also use your WASD keys to move around like this. If you want to go a bit faster, hold down left shift. And you can zoom around. If it's going either too fast or too slow for you, while holding down the right mouse button, use the scroll wheel, and then you can set your speed all the way from 0.001 all the way up to 2x speed. We can also change the looks and the appearances and the functions and how they work, all the objects we place in here. So for now, I'll just click these three buttons and then reset my transform. This will put it down to position 0, 0, 0. I'll just move it up a bit and let's just try to change the appearance. In a project tab, we go to the assets. We can right click, then create, and you have some more things here you can create. We will create a material. I will just call it cube material. You can call it whatever you want. And here you can see on the right in the inspector, when we're looking at the cube material, we have this base map. This is the color. So you can click this. This is the color picker. I'll just make my cube red. You can also see a preview of how red the color is, how it looks down here. And then you can just sort of drag it on here. You can see it also works from a plane. It works for basically every game object. And I can make it red. I can also change the appearance of the material, not only by color, but I can use, for instance, the metallic map. You can see it's getting a bit more shiny. I can use the smoothness, change the appearance as well. And let's go back to our cube. You can see it has different components that were already there. It has this mesh renderer. The mesh renderer is basically the way we see the material. So if we unclick this to make it inactive, it actually gets invisible. So let's just turn that back on. It has the box collider. This is for collision handling. Then you have the material we put on it. And then we can add a component. Let's just add something called a rigid body. Now, what is a rigid body? If you inspect the component, maybe you can see it has gravity. This is actually a way to simulate physics. But now, actually, let me just remove my component again, and we just drag it up in the air a bit. And if we use this button, we can press play. We can simulate how our game would look now. And then after a bit of waiting, you can see this is our game view. And then nothing happens. It just stands still in the air. Now, if we stop the game, go back to the cube, let's try to add that rigid body again, and we can play the game again. And it falls. And the thing is about rigid bodies, it actually really simulates physics kind of precise already. So if we rotate it a bit, let's just take it on another angle as well. When it falls, it lands kind of as you would expect it to do in the real world. In the next few weeks, I'm going to create a lot more Unity videos where I will be making a small scale 2D game to introduce you to the different concepts of basic programming in Unity and how to use the different components and how to implement game logic into your game. If you would like to see that series, leave a comment down below, leave a like, and subscribe for more content. But that is all I have for you today in the Unity intro, and thank you for watching.